Yeah, because I mean, even like Carlton saying like, just saying like, oh, she's a black mom, you don't mess with that, and I feel like it's a very like black culture kind of thing. So it's like, even though he's literally the only black guy in all of the school, and then Lisa's the only black girl in all of the school at this point. I mean, I haven't seen anything else. And it's still like there's still that part there, so it's even though he's mostly conformed, I guess. Same thing like in the original show, very, very, part of that world, where Will was part of a different world.
I think that's something I don't like when we get to Carlton.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that they really get what Alfonso was, what Alfonso did. So Alfonso never lost himself as a black guy. He liked certain things. He enjoyed the finer things. He enjoyed different type of music, but he was always a black man. And I feel like this Carlton misses that and loses that, and that hurts the show in my opinion. I feel like, it creates another conflict, so I guess it's good for a drama, but that's not what the character was. That was it was a different way to still be a black person in America. Yeah. And I don't necessarily like that part of the character. I don't like that they did that to the character. You didn't have to be totally just, subservient or just okay with just being enthralled in that world with losing yourself. And especially because he comes from two parents that haven't necessarily lost themselves either. But then we started to see, I guess, that Uncle Phil did lose himself a little bit from where he was when he was pledging Alpha. That Aunt Viv did lose a little bit of herself when she became just a mom, which all mothers really do. And I mean, that's something you can talk about forever. Mothers give up how much they give up for their kids. But not to the point that you think that it's okay to say the N-word in an open locker room when you're the only black person. That to that point, I just never thought they'll take the character there. And that bothered me.
Yeah, that was really, I did not expect that, because the way the whole scene is too is like he's in the middle, so it was they were singing a song, right, but it had the N-word in a lot, so he was literally the only black guy in a circle surrounded by all white guys. And I'm like, I know, I know that it just wasn't, by accident, you know what I mean? It was just really, it didn't feel right. Like, I get what they're going with the character, but I agree with you 100%. I don't like it. He's my least favorite character by far.
They're doing that on purpose. They're doing that on purpose.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be, by the end of the season, some big arc with him in particular. But just going back to like what you're saying is we don't know too much about Uncle Phil yet, but we know he's like from North Carolina or something like that, because his nickname. What was his nickname? It was the city he was from. Yeah. And then and then Aunt Viv is obviously from West Philly. So it was like they grew up without having these the money and this great school, where Carlton was born into it. You know what I mean? Like, he was like, had the money, had the school, was kind of like always there, like he's playing lacrosse, it was like, and I forgot the original Carlton played lacrosse, because I remember him with the lacrosse stick. They never showed it, but yeah. And it was just they
I feel like you can do that and still, but still they're the main people raising them, so they're still going to have part of that in them, and especially as they're younger. They used to be around Will, so they used to be around their other family when they're younger. So growing up, how would you get that far away, and how would you allow your kids to get that far away? And then they still do things like go to see the Alphas every year. They still see the Deltas come to their house all the time. So it's hard for me to believe that they'll allow themselves to have a son that thinks that's okay. I don't that disconnect is hard for me. So that's just something I don't necessarily understand. And
Yeah.
I feel like
So
part of it was the whole Will and Carlton connection was that once again we're one's from the from the hood, the other one's from Bel Air, but they're still like they really become best friends, not just brothers, but they're brothers, but they're best friends and they're everything to each other. They're different
mhm.
sides of the same coin, and I feel like we're losing that, and especially with that one scene. That I don't think you could ever repay that, ever get that back.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot. Like I don't know. I get what they're going with Carlton,
Mhm.
like because he's like that person was like, oh, so it's okay for you to say it, but then they'll say it like that whole kind of like
Yeah. The argument.
like
You know
stuff.
the argument.
And yeah, like you said, I just feel like it's not the same Carlton, and I get it. Like you don't want to do exactly the same, but I was like, this is not even close. Besides just his name being Carlton, like it's a whole different character, a whole different character. And like you said, like all of them, I mean, the entire family was like they knew where they were, but they never forgot who they are. You know what I mean? Like it was always like stuff like that. And you always had all the episodes like that weren't just comedy fillers. There was some deep meaning in the original ones. But and then also going into the drugs. What the hell? Like that was
But that
like
makes
this
sense though.
is
That makes sense because when you have a lot of money, drugs are just
yeah.
one of the things. They do it all the time because they have the money to get stuff out of it. They have the access to all this stuff, and they don't have parents breathing down their neck, and they have the money to just waste on stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
that I understood, but it's prevalent, and the fact that you see it so much is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's one part where I thought was kind of silly where Carlton and Lisa are talking like at school, and what was it? She said stop messing with him. And then Carlton's like, "Oh, you need to stay away from Will, like like for your sake." I'm like, "He's troubled." As Carlton walks away, wiping the cocaine off of his nose, I was like, "What?"
That's bad news right over there.
Yeah, like, "Oh, he's troubled." I was like, I mean, the drug one, it just doesn't fit. I guess, like you said, I guess for the newer version, it's more understandable than
I
some other stuff.
I
But
have kids that go to Lincoln Way Central. I got kids that Lincoln Way East and Lincoln Way West, out in the southern suburbs of Chicago, and
mhm,
all three of those schools are known to have big drug problems because when you
yeah,
have kids have a little bit of money, and that's not Bel Air money. That's you'll be if you're there in Bel Air, they'll be the poorest one in school, and that's not that money, and they still have the drug problems because they have the access, they have a little money to themselves, and they have the freedom. And so I think that's normal in high school in itself.
mhm,
That's there, and I don't know. That was interesting. It's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I mean, even like in Chicago, we're not too far from Naperville, which is a suburb out here, and there it's a nicer suburb, quote unquote. The houses are a little bit, better, whatever. But it's like the opioid capital of like the country,
Exactly.
So with kids with money when they get bored, you know,
They
you
experiment.
know,
They do stupid stuff. You
yeah,
know, poor kids have guns and they aim at drug dealers, and I guess rich kids do the same thing too, huh?
yeah, yeah. That's a good comparison. I didn't even think about that. And then one last thing before we move away from Carlton, because a lot of the issues revolve around Carlton, and it's Carlton versus Will. Like they are the biggest conflict, I guess, in the
Yeah,
show is them two.
yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that. I was like, I don't know.
Especially for they were always opposites, but they weren't ever antagonistic.
Enemies.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and that was the thing that they making them that. And honestly, it really makes Uncle Phil and Viv look stupid
Hmm.
because for them not to know that in a house where you've had one boy this entire time, not know that you're gonna have a problem when you bring another boy into the situation, especially in high school, especially
Same
when he's been the
age.
alpha boy. He's been the alpha one, right? He's the alpha. Besides dad, Carlton's the alpha male.
Yeah.
And you bring another alpha into that in that situation, not to know that there's going to be a problem. It's like they're stupid. Like really, and you're not stupid because obviously they're well educated, smart people that know how the world works. Yet somehow they forgot. It's like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
just sit him down and try to understand it, and trying to make Will feel welcome. They forgot that they have their son there. They have to also take care of.
Yep.
And give him extra attention because the light is no longer on him, and will cast a big shadow. And I felt that was something that they did really well in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air instead, with Carlton, because Uncle Phil always still gave Carlton the focus he needed to do on his stuff and let Carlton be good at what he did and be there for him. And they're doing a terrible job.
Yeah. Which is, it's kind of like I get where it's gonna lead into, where somewhere towards the end of the season, Carlton's gonna have to make a choice, or Will is gonna have to one of them is gonna sacrifice to make the other one learn that they do care about each other. You know what I mean? And that, I don't know the situation, but something's gonna happen where one sees the other one, they're like, oh, okay, we're not enemies, we're family. Things are bigger than that. And I think it's gonna be more Carlton, where him being the only black kid in a school full of white kids, I think that's gonna start showing its face, because they already kind of did it where he doesn't care that they're saying all these people are saying the N-word around him, because he has this whole idea. It's like, oh, well, they're just singing a lyric. But then they can easily be turned into calling you that word, and I think that's what's going to happen. And he's going to lose his friends somehow, and then Will's going to step up. I think that's what they're going to lead into, because at some point, I think they have to be best friends. They have to be those brothers, like you said, because in the show, it was such a big part of them together, because you had the goofy preppy boy and the guy from the street. It worked together so well, and this show needs that. I get it's not funny, but
you gotta remember also in the beginning of the show. I mean, at the beginning of Fresh Prince, Will and Carlton did fight all the time, but they didn't fight like that. They fought like little stuff, they're both scheming. As I said, they're both the same, different sides of the same coin, and that's what they're fighting over, because we're both doing the same things, and we're both a little stupid and a little whatever, and we're going to do it. But they did it together. Will found Carlton annoying, but loved him, like nothing else. And
they always had each other's back.
Yeah, it's just hard to get back there from where they went in episode 2, and it's going to be it's going to be a difficult climb, and it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see what they do.